Hey everybody, welcome to Connect in Cannabis, brought to you by Wrazel. I am your host, Brian Holler. Today with us we have Lindsey Kirk, founder and CMO of Joiant. Joiant's an amazing brand, and Lindsey's here to kind of talk about its development and what products they offer and kind of her journey along the way. So we're really interested to see that, to listen to her and her story. But first, of course, I've got to talk to you about Apricot Analytics. Apricot Analytics is a full-service product quality lab for cannabis testing and CBD hemp testing. They have over a decade of analytical lab experience and have been working with cannabis since 2005. Apricot understands the needs of cannabis and hemp producers because they were producers themselves. They know the challenges, the frustrations, and dreams of cultivators and manufacturers. They get it because they've been there, and they are here to help. Apricot Analytics tests your products for the good stuff like THC and CBD concentrations and helps you identify any bad stuff like pesticides, mold, bacteria, and heavy metals. For more information, go to apricotanalytics.com, or to learn about their current investment opportunity, you can visit the Wrazel Marketplace at wrazel.com. All right, Lindsey, how are you today? Excellent to see you as always.
I'm great. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure, of course. So let's dive right in. Explain Joiant to those who, aren't familiar.
So Joiant is formerly known as Prism Farms. We are a CBD THC blended pre-roll line, and we have a variety of 5 CBD to THC blends, each with varying ratios of CBD to THC. So basically a spectrum of joy for you to choose from. Very
good, hence Joiant, which I very much enjoy. So that is very good to hear. I'm a big fan of pre-rolls. They're maybe my favorite way to consume, to be honest with you. I may be too lazy to be rolling, and I'm just like, I like kind of them to be tight and efficient. Seems like people do them well. So, and yours are spectacular. So how did you become interested in cannabis? Like what journey led you to found Joiant?
That I've got quite a cannabis journey, as I'm sure we all do. So I grew up in the South, like in Mississippi. And when I was growing up, I didn't think I had like much cannabis influence in my life. In fact, I was like a dare kid. I was like, say no to drugs. Nancy Reagan would be really proud of me back then. Yeah. I mean, then, not now. When I was like 18 years old, as the first time or 17, as the first time I ever consumed cannabis. And when I smelled it, I was like, this is the most familiar smell I've ever smelled. This is the smell of my childhood. And it turns out that my dad had done like a short little stint for growing some cannabis. And my mom had said, he just got framed. And I didn't care until I smelled that smell. And he confirmed that he had grown cannabis when I was growing up. And he used to dry it out in our attic.
And how old again were you when you found this out?
I was 18 when I.
They did a good job of doing it, with you there.
Well, apparently I used to like open the humidor that we had in our dining room, and it would be full of garbage bags, like just full of loose cannabis.
Sure.
And I thought it was tobacco. So it was pretty naive.
Yeah. That's okay. Yes, that's the kind of thing I used to get from my parents too. I would have that familiar smell, and I'd be like, "What is that?" But they were smokers too, so they would just be like, "Oh, it's just cigarette smoke. Don't worry about that."
Well, that's what I got a lot too. I thought it was cigarette smoke. But yeah, so fast forward a few years, I was living in New Orleans, working for a physical therapy company, and I loved it there, but it just wasn't something I was like super duper passionate about. And I was able to go on a really great road trip on my own. And I ended up out in California, and I saw that there was like a legal cannabis industry, and it was really intriguing. So I was like, like this is legal. I could like be in the family biz, but not be a second generation offender. That could be cool. So I decided to move out to California and see what I could find, like as far as cannabis, and hopped on Craigslist and ended up as a brand ambassador for Kiva Confections, like back in 2014, which was really great because there were a lot of illegal shops back then. And I guess it's not fair to call them illegal, but they were just like a lot of random shops around California. Yeah. And they weren't always the most professional. Right. So when you entered with Kiva, you were always treated very professionally. And I got to create some really great, long-lasting relationships within the dispensaries down there. I just like really couldn't have gotten luckier.
I just think that's amazing that you started as a brand ambassador for Kiva, which is a reputable company, of course, but like ultimately it shows that, you came from brand ambassador and grew your network and your knowledge and, your experiences enough to kind of lead into starting a brand yourself, which is makes sense given all the connections you were making and what you were doing as a brand ambassador, right? It's about that building connections. So being a brand ambassador, right, I was living in LA at the time, and I was working all over LA and like in the Valley, down in Orange County. Right. And anybody who spent any amount of time on the roads in LA pre-corona knows that it's not pleasant. So I was actually rolling CBD and THC blended pre-rolls for myself. Because I wanted something to kind of like take the edge off of the anxiety that I was getting in traffic, without making me like unable to function, driving the car, and once like being able to do my job once I got there. And so really the idea for the product grew out of that. Also like having those relationships, not just with like the dispensary staff, but also with the consumer. And knowing what their level of interest in CBD was and how much it was growing at that point in time, I felt this intense sense of urgency. Like I needed to like create this product and put it in the market at that time. Right. And that was in like 2016. So it was like the first CBD THC blended smokable pre-roll to hit the California marketplace. So we're really proud of that. Of course.
I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, you should be really proud of it. That's very cool. And now you've got not just one product, you've got 5, as you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
What's the newest one?
Bliss is our most recent addition. And Bliss is going to be a CBD, THC. It's more like a 2-to-1 on the CBD side. So 2 parts CBD, 1 part THC. It's around 6.5% THC, and then like around 11-12% CBD.
Okay.
And it's really great for, it's more on the sativa side. So it's a hybrid blend, but we're blending a sativa flower, an indica flower, and a CBD flower together to create this blend. And in doing so, we used more of the sativa flower to make it just a little more of like an upper. It's a really social, euphoric. It's a great afternoon joint. I really enjoy it. One of my favorites.
Is it one of your? I was just going to lead into that. Like, so you have 5. The newest being Bliss. Is it your favorite, or do you have another one that's your favorite?
I really love Create, which is our sativa blend, and it's a 1-to-1. And so, generally it's around like 10% CBD, 10% THC. Right. And I like it gives you like a really euphoric, but like very up high. So I'm still able to like work and like pump out like whatever I need to do. But it's really good for creativity. And then I enjoy sharing that one as well with folks. I think that's a nice one. That's very social.
Yeah, very good. What are your customers' favorites? Or is it,
Flourish is a huge favorite because Flourish is our CBD dominant pre-roll. So it doesn't necessarily create a high per se, but it does create like a really nice feeling. Like if I struggle with anxiety, I also have migraines, and Flourish will like knock those out. So if I'm really stressed, or even like nausea or something, if you're, God forbid, hungover, then that'll help a lot. So yeah, Flourish.
Actually, I've also heard that we were talking about cigarettes because our parents earlier, and people who are maybe looking to, and this is just a habit thing. It's not necessarily scientific. It's more people are finding that like, yeah, I can have a CBD joint, right? That will sort of take that edge off and kind of get me in a more relaxed place, instead of smoking, maybe a handful of cigarettes. And so
we definitely have customer testimonials to that effect.
Yeah.
Obviously we can't make health claims, but no, 100%. We actually have a couple of dispensary partners who, because of their locations, they have a high volume of European tourists who come in, and those, they're accustomed to smoking CBD, and a lot of them are doing it to kind of move away from like those spliffs. At least that's what I'm being told, like by our dispensary
Yes,
partners.
Me too. And we're not medical professionals. We're not speaking from like scientific proof or anything. I just know psychologically, especially, people when they smoke get into habits, right? I always smoke here. I always smoke after dinner. I smoke, when I'm on the way to work or whatever it is. And some people have found that switching out, a CBD heavy joint can mitigate some of that. That's all.
Definitely.
It makes sense. You're just replacing, you're still doing the act. So that would make sense that, it would be helpful. That's all.
Yeah. And, like I said, I can attest at least to this, nicotine cessation, but it does help me with my general anxiety that, it pops up from traveling. I have a lot of like time related anxiety. I'm sure we all do. And it's very helpful with that for me.
Yeah. Speaking of which, another reason I think, cannabis is looked at as an essential, item right now is especially because of its work in helping anxiety, especially considering coronavirus, and everybody's kind of had to adjust really quick. And a lot of people are struggling and having a difficult time. And perhaps this gives them some ease, or at least brings the tension down so they can think clearly.
Definitely.
So have you guys had to make, speaking of coronavirus, have you guys had to make any strong adjustments due to it, or has anything kind of shifted in terms of your outlook for the year?
I think it's a lot about looking at doing what you can with what you have and like what's available to you at the moment. So we were really trying to hit shops hard with our brand ambassador program and that sort of thing. And obviously, we are worried about the safety of our team, just like everyone else is. So we're looking at doing things more virtually, like, even like what we're doing here today. Right. So just pivoting and trying to be creative with what the new tools we have at our fingers, which aren't any newer, than they were pre-COVID. They're just much more essential now. Yeah,
the way I like to, Lindsey, that is definitely a theme of my show is everybody, business owners, entrepreneurs, service providers, whoever you are, look under the hood right now and figure out what you have available, what you don't, all those things you were putting down the pipe because some marketing professional like me had been in your ear saying, hey, you got to do video, you got to integrate this stuff. Now it's the time to actually do that. And so, a lot of people are making those adjustments, of course. And I'm glad to hear you guys are. I think one thing I love about the cannabis community is how informative and educational people try to be, especially folks that have their heads in the right place. And, you guys are doing some of that kind of thing too. So, very good stuff. So adjustments, not too many then, just kind of looking under the hood, making sure that things are going in a good direction then.
Yeah, definitely. It's been an it's unprecedented time. So we're just taking it one day at a time right now, but really we're just focused on doing what we can with what we've got and really like taking care of those customers and those shops, those dispensary partners that are out there on the front lines, providing this essential medicine, to our patients. That was touching on, the business being essential. It was wild to see it not initially be deemed essential in the Bay Area, because previous to 2018, this was a medical marketplace. So we still have a ton of medical consumers in this marketplace. Like, how would you ever say that that's not essential for them?
Exactly right. And, and the more time goes on, the more people are using it for that, regardless of how, if recreational becomes legal elsewhere, that just makes more, medicinal, at least from what we can see. Ultimately, the growth of the one thing that it's showing is that cannabis is growing, and pun intended, I suppose. But it's, another theme of this show happens to be cannabis seems to be pretty damn resilient. And the people in it even more so. And while certainly the virus is a difficult adjustment for everybody in the whole world, actually, people in cannabis kind of have a special, like, they're used to this type of adversity. They're used to, being hindered and held down and things coming out of left field. You especially have seen that multiple times, Talk about kind of what it means to be a business owner, specifically a female business owner, and to kind of in the face of those hurdles. What is that like to, how do you keep your mind right and keep heading forward?
Well, being in cannabis a lot of times is going to feel like you're doing a lot of crisis management. Yeah. But I like to say that it's really just creative problem solving. So you become an expert in creative problem solving. But really, beyond that, being a female in the cannabis industry is really exciting, because as an industry, it's new. So there's no like old gentleman's club or like boys club that you've got to kind of like break the glass ceiling of and get through, That being said, it is something that we should be very aware of, because while there are a lot of female entrepreneurs in the space at the moment, we're seeing that change. It's not easy. And I don't come from like a traditional business background. I'm more of a creative, like, ideas and branding type of person. So start a business, like, I didn't know that, like, you go out and you get investors. You don't just like find money somewhere and pour it all into business. And also, the cost of like giving away equity, but like what you're getting back if you're like bringing in the right team members and like the right people and the things that you need to fulfill your goals. So it's been a wild ride to like learn about those things firsthand.
Yes, I can relate. I mean, one thing I love about working with for Wrazel is that, we're working with all sorts of different types of clients in cannabis, but they're all at varying levels, and there's so much that we learn from one another that it's really exhilarating, and it's a really easy way. And I love the idea that we get to help, companies of all different types with all different types of teams running them to grow and to do so efficiently and effectively, and to do so so that they can have a bright future and that they can do this time and time again as they need to. There's a lot of, like you were saying, there's a lot of information that you need to know, but you don't really have a chance to really absorb it until you throw yourself in the fire.
I mean, there's information you have no idea you need to know.
That's right. That's exactly right. Yes, you don't know. Yeah, there's like the most important information will like literally smack you in the face, and you'll be like, I thought I was smart. I thought I knew what the heck I was doing. I'm always like,
if someone tells me that's not right, they might be right.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's important. Anyhow, before we get out of here today, I want to definitely make sure everybody knows where to find you and Joiant. So please let all our listeners know where they can find you.
So you can check out our website, joiant.com. We have connections to our social media there, but our Instagram is @Joiant and our Twitter is @GetJoiant. And then we have a store finder on our website as well, if you're curious about that. Yeah.
Awesome. And of course, you can find me on Wrazel.com and Wrazel's platforms and social media profiles. And you can find me specifically, Brian Holler, on the same profiles as well, or Holler 1012. Speaking of which, if you are a cannabis company that is interested in raising some capital or just getting some bridge funding, you might want to hit us up. Please check out Wrazel.com, specifically the Raising Capital page. All right, Lindsey, thank you so much for being with us today. I look forward to doing it again soon. Be safe, be well, and my best to you and yours.
Thank you. Bye.
Take care, Lindsey. We'll talk soon.